Good evening, everyone. And I wish you all a good kvittel, a beautiful Hoshana Rabbah. And I want to jump right into a very, very difficult and complicated subject. The subject is called Sukkot. Sukkot is very tough. I was speaking at a college this past week at Rutgers, and I was speaking to second-level students. That means students that have been involved in Jewish life for a little while. And I asked them how many of them had heard of Sukkot. And in an entire room, maybe two did. And then I asked them, does anyone know what Sukkot is all about? And none of them did. And I explained to them, it's not surprising you don't, because Sukkot or Sukkot doesn't follow the pattern of the regular Jewish holiday that the typical American families heard about. In the typical holiday, there's a hero, there's a villain, and then we eat afterwards special food to commemorate that the hero beat the villain. Right? Just go through that pattern, you'll see it really stands up. Hanukkah, you got your hero, right? The Maccabees, Yehuda Maccabi. You have your villain Antiochus, and what do you eat? Latkes, maybe with sour cream, maybe with applesauce, but you eat latkes, that's the pattern. Pesach, you got your hero, Moshe, you got your villain, Paro, and what do you eat? Matzah. Purim, you got your hero, Mordechai and Esther, you got your villain, Haman, Achashverosh as well. What do you eat? Haman Tashin. So anything that follows that pattern, it's a very Hollywood kind of a pattern, and ends in good, distinct food we know about. But in Sukkot, there's no hero, there's no villain, and there's no special food. So why should they have heard of Sukkot? You think about that, it's really interesting. So the truth is, it is not just the typical American student that hasn't heard about Sukkot. The reality is that even we, who have gone perhaps to Jewish schools, Hebrew schools, yeshivas, even seminaries, it's a little bit confusing. It's a little bit confusing. Why 7 days? What happened in 7 days? Right? A good question. What happened in 7 days? We know on Pesach, 7 days is how long it took them to get from Mitzrayim to the Yam Suf. And the last day, Yam Suf split. What happened in 7 days that it's 7 days long? Is that an obvious question? The whole Sukkot is very confusing. So what I want to do today is I want to demystify Sukkot and maybe in the process make it interesting enough that from this Sukkot and on, Sukkot will have a totally different meaning for you. Okay, that's my goal. It's a big goal. I don't have that long to speak, so let's see if we can accomplish that goal. And what I want to do is I want to tell you a story that happened to me Erev Yom Kippur this year. So this story is all of 2 weeks old, a little bit less. Erev Yom Kippur, I'm driving home, Suda Mavsekes, have to go, gonna go to the mikveh, go get ready, do shlag kaparas with my kids. And I'm driving and I had to deliver something. So instead of driving my usual car, our family has a 15-passenger van. Thank God I've got 11 kids and believe on our grandkids as well. So you need lots of room. But it's very helpful to schlep cargo. And I brought my daughter with me. And we went to schlep this cargo. And as we are driving back up Saddle River Road, really near my house, the red and blue lights flash. I see them in the back. And I pull over, Erev Yom Kippur, being pulled over. If that's not a sign, what is? I get pulled over and the police said, do you know what you were doing? I said, no, I know I wasn't speeding. I don't speed. I used to be. Then I had kids, and I feel like I'm living for a lot of people. I'm very careful. He said, you know what you did? Earlier back, there was a person crossing the crosswalk. And when there's a person crossing the crosswalk, you have to stop, which I did. But you can't continue until the other person is actually on the other side, on the other sidewalk. It's not good enough that they should pass you, that you can go. They have to be on the sidewalk. And if not, it's a major ticket. Okay, I didn't learn that. Maybe I should learn that in my driving school book. He said, license registration. So I tell him right away, I said, by the way, I'm a chaplain. I'm a chaplain, actually. Not that I usually have with me, but I actually am a chaplain. Police chaplain. There we go. I just have it on me. No, I usually don't carry it with me. I'm a chaplain. He says, okay, where's your ID? I said, it's in my other car. He said, what other car? I said, I never drive this car. It's my wife's van. He says, well, without ID, you're just a guy. License registration. I said, I'm telling you I'm a chaplain. Now, if you're a chaplain, I'm not spreading this, but if you're a chaplain, they very often will let something go, especially if it was innocent. I'm not driving 100, 120 miles an hour. They'll let it go. So I'm a chaplain. But he said, you don't have your ID? So I said, 1 second, I'm really near my house. My son has my car. Let me just call him. He can bring it. He'll be here in 2 minutes. So the police says, you have 2 minutes. So I call him. He doesn't answer. I call him again. I call him 10 times. The police loses patience with me, and he goes back to his car. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking, you know, I'm actually a chaplain at large. It's called a New York State chaplain. It's not even officially a police chaplain, although they recognize it. But I would not even be in their records. It's a New York State thing. It's not a police thing. So he said, who do you answer to? And the answer is, I don't really, you know, I took the course, and whatever the guy's name was 3 years ago, I just renew it every year. So he says, you don't have your ID, you don't know who you answer to, wait here. So I'm waiting, and I'm thinking, I'm toast. You know, I'm through, who knows what the ticket's gonna be. So while I'm there, I'm waiting, and you know, the police, they make you wait for a long time to get you all nervous. So while I'm waiting, I said, let me do a mitzvah. There was a girl, she wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael. You know, it was like a little bit of an ASIC to get her there. So I have a few extra minutes while I'm waiting for the police. I get on the phone to try to help her out. He gets back, comes back, I roll down the window. He hands me my license and he says, okay, you are a chaplain. I said, I am? Like, it's not in your records. You are a chaplain. And you're lucky that you are a chaplain. Because you don't have your ID. And you're supposed to carry your ID. It's not supposed to be in your car. It's always supposed to be on your person. And even more than that, I could have written you up for 4 tickets. 4 tickets. That means I could have almost lost my license over that. 4 tickets, endangering the welfare. Like he could have, and he said, we're really cracking down in New Jersey. It was right before New York at the border. We're really cracking down. But you're a chaplain. Next time, have it on you. And drive away. And I turned to my daughter, I said, I don't know how that happened. Like, it could not be in his records. It's a different department. And I didn't even have it on me. And whatever it was. That evening I was in shul and I was leading the minyan. And I told the kehillah, listen to me. We come in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and we say, God, I've done a lot wrong. And God says, I know you have. Hashem says, I know. But I turn to Hashem and I say, yeah, but you know who I am? You know who I am? I'm among the Bnei Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. I'm a chaplain. I got Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. I got pedigree. I got yichus. And Hashem says, where's your ID? You don't look like Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. You're chesed, you're tefillah, you're tzedakah. You don't look the part. Where's your ID? And I say, I know I don't look like it, but I am. Trust me, I am. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes back to us and says, Taka, you are B'nai Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And I will be Moichel you. You know why? Because I love you. But you should be aware, It's not one ticket, it's many tickets. There were many things that you did wrong this year that you're not even aware of that I'm going to forgive. But be aware, next time, have your ID on you. Next time, look like the Bnei Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Here is the idea. It's a profound idea. It's a simple idea. And after you hear it, you're going to wonder how you ever missed it. This is Sukkot. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu saying, my dear, dear Klal Yisrael, you have a long winter ahead of you, and you can get a little depressed. You don't have a Rosh Hashanah and a Yom Kippur coming up. You've got months and months with no major holiday. You got a Chanukah in between, which is not an official Yontif. Nothing until Pesach. And you may think that we're going to grow distant in the cold winter. You may think I've done bad things. You may think I need mechila. Says Hashem, listen to me, mein Kinderlach. I love you. And I will not let you get depressed. I will not let you get down on yourself. I will not let you knock yourself around and say, I'm so bad, and Hashem's not really moichel me, and I've got so far to go, and nothing's changed. You're wrong. You've got ID on you. You're the Bnei Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. So when you mess up, remember that I love you. I want to tell you that every Yontif is a fill-up station. I'll explain to you what I mean. When you have a Yontif, when you have a holiday, the message of the holiday is supposed to then carry on until the next holiday. So the first holiday that we have is Pesach. The message of Pesach is freedom. So here we are. It's spring. We understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu freed us not to frolic at the beach, not to go wild, but Hashem freed us. Why? To be avodim to Hashem. To serve Hashem. Pesach is freedom. That's the lesson. So the fill-up is Pesach, and then after you filled up the gas tank, then you've got that feeling of freedom. And that's supposed to carry on until Shavuos. In Shavuos, what do you fill up with? What do you fill up with on Shavuos? You fill up with on Torah. Matan Torah. You fill up on the appreciation that Hashem gave you Torah. You have a long summer coming up. You have a big summer vacation coming up. Fill up on Torah. What do we fill up on Sukkot with? What gets put in the gas tank? Anyone? What gets put in the gas tank? The answer is simcha. You're filling up on simcha for the rest of the winter. You've got a long winter ahead of you. You have to fill up with joy so that that joy will last throughout the winter. Where does that joy come from? The Rambam says, the joy of Hashem is synonymous with Hashem's love. When you know that Hashem loves you, you get filled up with joy. And that's the feeling we're supposed to get come this Sukkot. The feeling that Hashem loves me, even though maybe it wasn't my best Rosh Hashanah. It wasn't my best Yom Kippur. Let me explain this a little bit deeper. It's going to get sort of deep, but I think we can handle it, even though it is close to midnight. Why do we have 7 days of Sukkot? I asked that question before. So the Arizal says, the 7 days of Sukkot are connected the 7 clouds, the Ananei HaKavod. There were Ananei HaKavod, there were clouds that surrounded the Jewish people, and the 7 clouds are remembered through the 7 acts of love, through the 7 days of Sukkot. Now I have a question for you. If you're surrounded, how many clouds does it take to surround you? Count. 1 to the right, 1 to the left. Right, 6. 1 to the front, 1 to the back, 1 to the top, 1 to the bottom. Why did there have to be 7 clouds? Where's the 7th cloud? Where is that 7th cloud The answer is it's in you. Hashem surrounds you on top, on bottom, on the sides, but the main part, the main cloud is within you. As a person, Hashem is saying, I love you. This is why we have 7 Ushpizim. What are the Ushpizim? The Ushpizim are 7 days, 7 of our ancestors, our grandparents, that we say are our ID. So when we welcome Avram, who gets to welcome the president? Somebody who's close to the president welcomes the president. When we welcome Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, what are we saying? Avram's our Zayd. Of course we're going to welcome him. Of course we're going to welcome Yitzchak. Of course we're going to welcome Yaakov. They're our grandparents. What are we doing? We're flashing our ID to Hashem, and we're saying we're welcoming the Ushpizim because they are our grandparents, and therefore, even when we mess up, you still love us. That's the message of Sukkot. So you've got 7 clouds that surround you that are the love, and the 7th one is in you. You have the 7 Ushpizim, and then you yourself are able to invite them as your Zaydas. You take the lulav and you shake it 6 sides, and who's the one who shakes it? You're the 7th one. You're number 7. 6 sides, and you being number 7. It is you telling Hashem, Hashem, I know you love me, even though I may not have had the best Yom Noraim. That's the message of Sukkot. And in case we forget it, the 7th day, which is coming up, or the 8th day, which is right after Sukkot, is called Shmini Atzeres. And we have Shmini Atzeres because it's called Kasha Elai Predaschem. We say it's hard for me to leave you. It's almost like the grandparents. When the grandchildren are about to leave, the grandparents say, please stay a little bit longer. I'll put out some good food. I'll make it good. Stay a little bit longer. There's no special simcha. There's no special anything that we do except love Hashem. And that's the message through the winter. So let's recap, and then we'll go a little bit further with this. We have Sukkot. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I love you, and I prove to you that I love you by putting you in a sukkah. We'll speak about that in a moment. I prove to you I love you by putting you in a sukkah, and therefore, I'm going to ask you to remember that I love you, and then throughout the winter, when you feel down, remember that my love will hold you not just till the next Rosh Hashanah, the next Yom Kippur, but my love is able to forgive you even when you haven't forgiven yourself. So it's a very interesting thing. We say at the end of Ma'ariv, right at the end of Yom Kippur, we daven a regular Ma'ariv. And we say in that Ma'ariv, Slach lanu avinu ki chatanu, forgive us because we've done nader. Now this is right after Yom Kippur. Now think about this. We just went through an entire Yom Kippur. We just screamed, Hashem hu Elokim. We blew the shofar. And then we're davening Ma'ariv, we say, Slach lanu. Why? What does Hashem have to forgive us? Didn't He forgive us already? So a Litvak will give you the answer that, you know what Hashem has to forgive you for? Because you're thinking about food. That's a Litvish answer. It's a little bit harsh. You know why? Because we're hungry. Being hungry that's what happens when you don't eat for a day and an evening. So I heard a beautiful, beautiful word. It's a little more Hasidish, so beautiful. Do you know why we have to say Slach lanu in Shemona Esrei, Motzei Yom Kippur? You know what we need forgiveness for? We're asking Hashem to forgive us that we don't believe that He really forgave us. That we don't really believe that Yom Kippur worked. That we still think there's no way in the world Hashem could forgive me. Hashem knows what I've done. I'm not a tzaddik. I didn't cry tears this Yom Kippur. I'm still going to speak Lashon Hara. I'm still going to daven without kavanah. I'm going to do these things. It's awful, but it's a reality. And Hashem knows it. And therefore, He probably didn't forgive me. Slach lanu, ki chatanu. Are we such ba'alei gaiva? Are we so haughty to think that Hashem can't forgive us? That's why we say Slach lanu. So, in order to understand this on a deeper level, let me explain to you how love works. There's an old, it was not so old, it was a story in the press in India. I don't know if the story is true. It's a weird story. The story goes like this. There was a guy who was dating a girl, and they were dating each other, and it looked like it was going to go somewhere. And one day, it was near the end of the date, and they already had strong feelings for each other. And then the girl says, you know what? Pull over to the side of the road. So he pulls over to the side of the road, and he says, what is it? He says, you know, I know it looks like it was about to happen. And we even said we loved each other. We said we loved each other. And we really felt that we meant it. But I feel like I'm not feeling it anymore. So I think I have to end it. And the guy with a tear in his eye, it's not a Jewish story. The guy with a tear in his eye, she's breaking up with him. He takes out of his pocket a little note and hands her that note. And right after he hands her that note, there was a drunk driver coming from the opposite direction. And the drunk driver swerves out of control and sideswipes the car and smashes right into him and kills him on the spot. She miraculously does not die. She's injured, not that badly. It was a very sad funeral. And after the funeral, when she's trying to compose herself, she reaches into her pocket and she sees this note that he hands her right after she broke up with him. She opens up the note, and in it was one line that he had written. And the line said, I would die without your love. Now, this is a story. It's from the India press in India. Very dramatic story. Without your love, I would die. That was it. But that's not the way Hashem works. Hashem does not work that when we feel, oh no, there's no love, bam, comes a car and you're finished. Hashem's actually quite the opposite. And Hashem works with us exactly the way mature love works. Let me explain to you how mature love works. When we love somebody, when we want to be in a relationship with them, when we want to choose somebody to marry us. So there are 3 steps. These are the 3 steps of love. Step number 1 is called respect. You can't love somebody you don't respect, right? It's one of the reasons that within the Orthodox community, you don't have little teenagers, young teenagers dating. You know why? Because I always skip that step. They skip the respect step. And you can't skip respect. You have to know what it is about them. The fact that they're cute or handsome or pretty is not enough. Who are they? What do they stand for? Respect. It's huge. Nachon? It's big. Respect. If Albert Einstein's wife says, I don't know, math, schmath, science, schmines, I don't know, but I love his hair. Is that good enough? Of course not. You're married to Albert Einstein, you have to know. Right? You have to respect that fact. When you love somebody, you respect them. Well, if you want to love somebody, you have to respect them. What do they stand for? Are they a Talmud Chacham? Do they have good midos? Do they do chasadim? What have they accomplished? Respect. Step number 2? Step number 2 is actually the step of love. What's love? Love is simple. Love is a complicated word in romance, in songs. But love is actually a very simple concept. What's the concept of love? Love is me saying, I am ready to take the leap. I have seen enough to know that I want to invest in you. We invest in our children. We love our children. This is a Jewish definition of love, investing. The more you invest, the more you love. That's ahava from the word hav. So the second step is actually love. What's the third step? The third step is trust. Now that I love you, don't you break my trust. Now that I love you, don't you betray me. Now you would think that trust comes before love, but it doesn't, it can't. You have to leap first, and then once you leap, you hope the person's is not gonna betray you, right? That's trust. 3 steps to all love: respect, love, and trust. Hashem used those 3 steps when it came to engaging the Jewish people. Hashem loves us. And Hashem says, I want to be in a mature relationship with you. So step number 1 was respect. Hashem says, you have to respect me. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show you what there is to respect. I'm going to show you I rule over the sky, I rule over the ground, I rule over the water. You know how I'm going to do it? Dam tzvardeya kinim arov, right? All the makas, except for the last one. All the first 9 makas, 3 which were by land, 3 which were by the water, 3 which were by air, were there just so that we should understand that Hashem rules over everything, and now we can respect Hashem. We respect Hashem. You're on Kash Shemai V'Arch. You rule over everything. So step number 1 of the relationship is respect. First 9 makas. Step number 2. What was step number 2? That's the love. That's the getting down on one knee and saying, will you marry me? That's the proposal. That's the love. I choose you, you choose me. When did that happen? That was Makas Bechoros. Makas Bechoros was a totally different Makkah than the first 9. Completely different. The first 9 were just about respect. The last Makkah was the choosing. That's the choosing. So who chose who? Well, first, we chose Hashem. So what do we have to do? We have to take every other avodah zarah, especially the sheep, which was the avodah zarah of the Egyptians, and throw them out. No, I choose nobody but you, Hashem. And what does Hashem say back? Then I choose you, right? You I choose. I will be pasach al batei bnei Yisrael. You I will kill. Your bechorus I will kill. You I will not. You I choose, you I do not. It was the makkah of the choosing. Makkah's bechorus is the proposal. It's incredible. There's a lot more to be said about this. I don't have the time. But once you understand this, you'll know why every single house had to have at least one person dead among the Egyptians, even if there was no bechor. Did you ever wonder about that? Even if there wasn't a bechor, let's say the bechor had died. Says the Medrash, the next one who was alive had to die. What about if you weren't even Egyptian? What about if you were Syrian and you were in an Egyptian prison, but you happened to be a Bechor? You also had to die. Why? So that nobody should mistake the fact that I did not choose you. No, I did not choose you. I did not choose the Syrian, and I did not choose the Egyptian. I chose you because I love you. You're my Klal Yisrael. You're not my Klal Yisrael. So that was the love. The love was Makas Bechoros. What are we left with? My friends, this is what it's all about. The trust. The trust in the relationship. Now, before we get to trust, I want to show you where we say this in davening over and over, because these 3 steps are repeated over and over in davening. Let's take Ma'ariv. Daven tonight, Ma'ariv. The first bracha is Asher b'dvaro ma'ariv varavim b'chachma posech sharb. You created the sun and the moon, and you created the stars in the heavens. Whoa, respect. It's a big galaxy. It's a big universe you create out there. So the first bracha is respect. What's the next bracha? Avas olam beis Yisrael amcha ahavta. Then comes love. So the first, Avas olam, you loved us. So we respond with Shema. Ve'ahavtas Hashem Elokecha. You love me, I love you. And then, what's the next bracha right after Shema? Ve'emunah kol zos, trust. Right? Shachris, Yotzros, Yotza Orav Orachoshech, respect. Ahava Rabbah, love. Shema, Ve'afta, V'yad Sivanachon, Ve'emunah kol zos. Again, trust. Even in Shmona Esrei, you see the pattern of respect, love, and trust. Let's look at it. Hakela Godolai Gibar Vanora, that is respect. You're big, you're great. Laman Shemo, in order to bring, Laman Shemo, Ava, to bring to love. And after love, what comes? Trust. That same 3. Now, we as Jews got the first two. We understood Hashem needs to be respected. We understood that we're choosing Hashem by Makas B'choros, and He's choosing us. But trust, oh my goodness gracious, we're still here 3,000 years later. We still struggle with trust. How do we know that we struggle with trust? Well, right when the Bnei Yisrael left Mitzrayim, what did Hashem say? The very beginning of Bashalach, I'm not going to take them through the Plishtim, because you know what they're going to say? I want to go back. They're going to go back. They don't trust me. When's the first time we began to trust? The very first trust ever? That was at Yam Suf. You know why? Because we had no choice. We were going to die. Right? Here you're going to die by drowning. Here you're going to die by sword. So for the first time ever, it says, Vayaminu ba'Hashem. That's the first time. Vayaminu ba'Hashem. So Hashem says, okay, we're going to work on this trust thing. And then came a 40-year saga of the third part of the relationship. We tried to trust. Hashem says, listen to me. Don't go out on Shabbos. There'll be no mun. Trust. Believe me, there's going to be mun every day. Trust. Believe me, Eretz Yisrael is wonderful. You don't need to send in spies. Trust. Believe me, Moshe Rabbeinu is going to come down to Egel Hazav. Trust. We could not. 10 times we say in Kabbalah Shabbos, Hashem, we tested Hashem 10 times, again and again and again and again. I don't trust you, Hashem, I don't trust you. So what is Sukkot? Sukkot is us trying to finish the relationship. It's trying to complete it with trust. So what do? So the first thing is we leave our houses and we go underneath a sukkah with a ceiling that's flimsy. And we're underneath basically the heavens. So what is that? Trust. Hashem says, you don't need your kavuatik house. You don't need your permanent house. Trust me. You're going to be in a flimsy sukkah, and that's okay. And remember, there was man, because part of sukkah is remembering the man and Ber and Miriam. It was all part of the nace. Right? One came from Moshe, one came from Miriam, one came from Aaron. Trust me. And then you know what you're going to do? You're going to trust me by taking your lulav and esrog, and you're going to say, Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is truly everywhere, up, right? That's how you know how to shake it. You sing the niggun. Hashem, you're everywhere. And you know why we can trust Hashem? Why can we trust Hashem? We've done so many bad things. We don't deserve nisim. We don't deserve hatzlacha. We don't deserve a good shidduch. We don't deserve parnas. We don't deserve. Says Hashem, you know why? You could trust me because I love you. That makas b'choros that you celebrated, that you chose me and I chose you, I never forgot that. So start trusting me. Trust me because you have ID. Trust me because you're a chaplain. Trust me because you're the Bnei Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Trust me. So now we're getting a little bit deeper into what Sukkot is all about. And here's what the equation looks like. Hashem says, you just finished Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. You're going to a long, dark winter. You're not sure how our relationship is. You're not sure if I'm going to watch you. But you know what the problem is? The problem is that you're not sure. That's why you should say Slach Lanu. You should be sure. You should trust me that I'm not going to abandon you, that I'm not going to have a car sideswipe you the moment you say I'm not interested anymore. Trust me in this long and dark winter, because no matter what you do, you're still my kindalach. That's the equation of Shavuos. Yes, there are clouds all around, but the main cloud is you. You are the neshamala. You are the soul. And you can trust me because I will never abandon you, even if you mess up throughout this Rosh Hashanah, throughout this winter that's coming up. That's the message. The only time we fail is when we don't trust that Hashem loves us and when we don't trust that Hashem forgives us when we mess up. You know, when we're occupied doing interesting things, we don't get down on ourselves. We only get down on ourselves when we think. When we think, when we start beating ourselves up and we think. So it's not the reality, it's our own minds doing it to ourselves. We just think Hashem couldn't possibly forgive me. If Hashem is big enough to forgive Klal Yisrael Egel Azav, Hashem is big enough to forgive you. And Hashem wants to forgive you. Hashem is a Tata in heaven. Hashem is a Father. And Hashem is a lover. And Hashem is a king. And all of these relationships mean that Hashem doesn't give up on us. And if Hashem patches us once in a while, it's the biggest proof that He didn't give up on us. So stop giving up on yourselves. Stop thinking that this Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur didn't work. Tonight is Hoshana Rabbah, the last chance. But what does that mean, the last chance? So according to what we're saying now, you know what it's the last chance for? It's the last chance to realize that Hashem really does love you enough to forgive you. It's the last chance for you to say, Hashem, I trust you that you forgive me. And I'm not going to beat myself up. And I'm not going to allow atzvutz and yiush to lead me down a dark path. Because that's all it wants to do. All yiush wants to do is make you not cling to Hashem because you convince yourself that Hashem doesn't love you anymore. Hashem does not give up on anyone. You know, there's a song. It actually comes from the words of Rabbi Nachman. Beautiful, beautiful words. You all know the words. Kala olam kula, gesher tsar ma'od, v'ha'ikar lo lefached klal. And the words mean, the world is a narrow bridge, and the main thing is, don't be afraid. So, most people, when they hear these words of Rabbi Nachman, the way they explain it is, the world is a narrow bridge. But don't be afraid, you'll be able to cross the bridge. Don't be afraid, it's narrow, but don't worry. But I always looked at it a little bit differently. And maybe there's emes to what I'm saying. The world is a narrow bridge. And it's so narrow, sometimes it's so narrow, you're going to fall off the bridge. You're actually going to fall off. And even when you fall off, don't be afraid. Even when you fall off, even when you think that you're finished, the bridge was too narrow, Hashem. I couldn't do it. Hashem says, I know I made that bridge. It's so narrow. But guess what? I can catch you also. Who says the only way to catch? Who says the only way to get to the other side is through the bridge? I could take you in the palm of my hand and gently put you on the other side. The world is a narrow bridge. You're going to fall sometimes. You're going to fall off the bridge. V'ha'ikar, the most important thing in the relationship is lo lefached klal. Don't have any fear. Even when you've fallen, even if you fall during this winter, even if the commitments that you made on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur don't seem to be matching your actions, lo lefached klal. Don't be scared. Hashem still loves you. Hashem believes in you because you've got ID. You've got the idea of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. I'll finish with a story. There was a taxi driver, and the taxi driver, it was the end of his shift. It's a very, very late night call, and he was feeling a little bit restless. He really wanted to get home, and he stops at his final destination. This person had called, and he's there outside, and the person's not coming. And he's going to honk Or he's just going to drive away. Sometimes taxis, they wait a little bit and then they drive away. But for whatever reason, the taxi driver decided he'll go, he'll knock, it's the last one. He gets out of his taxi, knocks on the door, knocks again. Now there's no answer, he's about to walk away. When he hears a faint voice from inside of the house, so he waits and then he hears a shuffling, and then the door slowly opens up. And there's a very, very old lady standing at the door. She's in her 90s. And as the door opens, he sees her house. It's a very nice shell of a house. But there's nothing there. There's no knickknacks. There's no furniture. There's a few boxes with picture frames and old black and white pictures and little glass jars, a few boxes like that. But the house is pretty much empty. And this old lady, she's got a suitcase. And she says to the taxi driver, "Excuse me, dear, would you help me with the suitcase?" And he says, "Of course," seeing a lady so frail, "of course." So he takes the suitcase, puts it in, and then he comes back and he helps this lady. And the door closes, and she walks very, very slowly towards the taxi. And she comes in, and she says, "Here's the address that I have to go to. Would it be okay if you could go the downtown route?" He said, "Downtown? It's much, it's longer. I could take the highway instead of going." He said, "Why would you want to go downtown?" So the lady said, "Well, you see, I'm actually on my way to a hospice, to an old age home. I'm leaving now. This is my suitcase. I've lived where I've lived for over 60 years, and you're driving me to the place where I probably will live out the last days of my life. And I want, before I arrive at the hospice, to go through downtown one more time, just to remember." And the taxi driver was very touched. So touched was he that he turned off the meter and he took her downtown through the longer route. And as he's taking her, she says, "Oh, this is the hall that my husband and I got married in 70 years ago. Oh, and that's where we had our first, that's where I had my first job. Here's where we had our anniversary." And he's taking her this very circuitous route because she kept saying, "If we go down that road, oh, that's where I went to school as a child. Wow, I remember that. This is where my children surprised us with a birthday party. My husband and I, he passed away 20 years ago. But this is where our children took us out, that restaurant over there. And I remember this and I remember that." And she's so animated. And he's very patiently taking her on this long 2-hour taxi ride. And finally, she says, "Okay, we can go." And they drive to the hospice, and he helps her in. And there are people there who clearly were waiting for her. And they take her suitcase, and she turns to this taxi driver, and she says, "You're very kind. You really were a highlight. You were like a highlight of my life. You allowed me to see my life in a nutshell, like a film. I really am grateful. Thank you so much." And she walked in the hospice, and the taxi driver watched as the door to her life closed behind her. And he gets back in the car, and the sun is beginning to rise. And instead of driving right home, he drives slowly, and he drives around a little bit, and he thinks to himself, "I'm so glad I didn't get upset. I'm so glad I didn't honk. I'm so glad I didn't drive away. She could have gotten an angry taxi driver who didn't understand that she's an old lady. And I feel like what I did today was among the most special things that I've ever done." There are many things that are going to happen to us after Hoshana Rabbah, after Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah. And we go to our lives, and the world gets cold, and there are many stops, and many mistakes, and many victories. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to understand that He will love us with the bad and with the good, with our faults and with our virtues. And there's nothing that gets Hashem more depressed, kaviyachol, than when we get down on ourselves. Asur lihityaesh, me Hashem tevakesh. It's forbidden to be miyayesh. So whenever the time comes and we feel like life is getting us a little bit down, pull out your ID. Remember that you're children of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, David, and Aaron, and Yosef, and Moshe, and Sarah Shnir, and Shmuel HaNavi, and Yehudis, and Devorah, and all of the tzaddikim and chachamim and wonderful people who came before us. And we pull ourselves back up and we say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I believe in myself because I believe in you. And Hashem says, that's the third step. We had respect, we had love, and now we have trust. Have a wonderful Piska Tova and a good Gezeira. Thank you very much.